everyone. Welcome to the show. It's so wonderful to have you here. If you are watching, I just want to send a little reminder. If you are watching us on the I Want to Believe channel, please, please, please head on over to the Paranormally Speaking Show channel, because eventually we will be over here full time. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And unfortunately, well, actually, okay, I'm going to start over with that. Trevor is unfortunately working today, so he cannot join us, but he will be here next week. And Lynda, fortunately for her, she is in Scotland and she's in Ireland and she is hosting a paranormal tour, and we're so excited for her. So we're going to hear all about that when she gets back, and I am so looking forward to it. And again, thank you everybody for being here with us today. So my guest today is Michael Chiana, and Michael is an author. He is a paranormal investigator, and he is a filmmaker, producer, director. He's got a show up on Prime right now. So we're going to bring Michael on. How you doing? Hi, Michael.
Hi. Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, nice to meet you. And we are so grateful that you can be here with us today. Well, with me. I'm grateful. Apparently I'm creating invisible people, but in the we is they're here with us in spirit. We know that. So how are you doing today? And thank you so much for joining.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you all.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, we're going to get into all of this because this is so fascinating. The fact that you have a show up on Prime, Amazon Prime right now. And the show itself is called The Heritage Hunter's Journey Through the Past. That's correct? Okay. And let's talk about you first a little bit. How did you get into paranormal investigating?
Well,
tell us your journey.
Oh yeah, no, it's all connected. I actually started growing up as a kid in the 70s. I used to love all the old TV shows, The Night Stalker and Addams Family Monsters, Ghost of Mrs. Muir. Loved all that, but never ever thought anything that ghosts were even real. And when I was about 14, I was starting out as a musician, and I bought myself a really expensive reel-to-reel. And at the same time, I started researching about the paranormal. And I read a really great article by Dr. Hans Holzer on how to record ghosts. And it was just a very small 2 or 3 paragraphs, just telling you the steps on how to use recorders and things. So I tried it with reel-to-reel. No microphones were used, plugged straight into an old receiver, pure static, and I just let it run for 2 hours. And afterwards, I reviewed it, and about an hour in, after listening to pure static, there was a man yelling and screaming at the top of his lungs.
Wow!
Bloody murder! And at first, I thought it was like a plane going down, but this was not with a microphone or anything like that. There's no Wi-Fi back then. And so it did not pick up like radio transmissions from anything. And that blew me away when I captured that. And that was in 1978 when I was 14. And all these years later, I am still at it and still amazed at the different things that are out there. And I've just traveled the country and other countries as well, the UK, over the years, invested in the paranormal. So I love it.
That's amazing. So are you still investigating now, or if you kind of just backed off a little bit from it, or you're still?
Oh, I still do it. It's not as much as I used to. I used to have organized teams, and I used to train the public. I had public teams where I would take anybody that was interested in the paranormal and join, and I would take them on different outings and rent the Battleship North Carolina and rent haunted hotels and do all these things over the years, training people. Got worn out with that over the years. The public can wear you out as far as doing things like that in events. It just it
wears on you after a while. Yeah,
it
can.
Yeah. So I really just want to get back to what I love, and that's the Heritage Hunters Society is what I started many years ago. Just going to historical places and connecting with what's there paranormal wise, hauntings and different things. And that's really where my passion is. And that's how I started my show several years ago, Journey Through the Past on Prime TV.
So tell us a little bit about this. Now, you said this is, how many episodes are on here? Is this one episode?
I have my first episode out, and it takes me a few years to put these together because when I go research, I'll spend 2 or 3 years returning to these locations and investigating with myself, and then I'll bring other team members from other groups that are close friends with me, and we will see what we can find and gather before we ever put a show together. And so we have tons and tons of evidence on all these locations. I won't put an episode together unless it has a lot of evidence. That's what I don't understand about all these other shows that are out there. They'll put a whole show together with nothing, and it's all about them. And to me, it's not about the investigator. It's about the research and the investigating and what evidence you actually find. So that's what I've done. And so I had my first one out, came out in 2021, and my next one I've just finished. That's coming out in the next few weeks. I have 4 altogether for now, and then I'll be doing other ones. But it takes me years of traveling and filming. I do it all myself. I do all the editing, writing, filming, completely solo.
So I'm just showing some of the links to your Facebook pages for people so that they can, just take a quick look, or come and follow you, join you, join, like the page, all of that. So this one here, this is your next episode. Is that right? Tom Dooley?
Yes, Tom Dooley is my next one, The Ghost of Tom Dooley, which I don't know. So many people do know of the story. Many people don't. And it is a true lovers triangle murder mystery from the 1860s here in North Carolina. It was a true story. Very famous song was written in the late 50s. Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley, which is a song about the murder and the hanging of Tom Dooley. And,
okay.
Everybody just assumed it was Tom, and it's a very twisted story involved with a lot of people. So we actually got to investigate the jail where he was held, and we captured some amazing evidence over the years. Even somebody telling us who did the murder.
Wow!
Yeah.
Is that on an EVP?
Oh yeah, it's all on the show.
Really? That's pretty fascinating, hey?
Yeah. So, it's definitely amazing. And but like I said, it took me years to learn how to film and do all the editing. And it's not my career. I'm a licensed plumbing contractor. I work in historical homes. So that was the furthest thing from making TV shows.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a contrast. But then again, look at Ghost Hunters, right? Like they're doing the TV shows, doing the plumbing. So,
Yeah. I was a plumber way before them. So
yeah, you were the original.
We don't know how real they are. They work for Roto-Rooter, and see, Roto-Rooter will just hire anybody off the street. So I think it was a good marriage that they put the working Joes in the ghost hunting field. I think it was a good combination.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely agree. You're an author too. So you've got a book coming out next year.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the show Journey Through the Past is all locations that you can actually go visit. You can go stay there. The restaurants, hotels, different locations that you can actually go to and see what you can capture. The book is actually about a lot of my private cases over the years, and even working in historical homes, doing plumbing and plumbing contract work. I've had a lot of paranormal experiences while working. So a lot of those stories are now in this book that are more private, and it's called Chasing the Darkness by the Heritage Hunter.
Okay. And that's going to be on Amazon, or how is that coming out? Do you know yet?
Yeah, no, I haven't published it yet. So I'm still. I started the book before I ever started the series, and I figured I can get a lot. It's a better way to share all the evidence and photos and things on. Once I saw that Prime was taking people where you can actually put your shows on there. So I put the book, I shelved the book for a little bit. And so now that I'm finishing up these next episodes, I want to put the book out. So yeah, that'll be coming out. Wherever I can put it, I will get it out there. And I have
Yeah.
lots of friends that are authors, so they can help me with advice on where's the best place to. I'm sure
Yeah.
Amazon is a good place.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. They so okay, I want to ask you something. If you could, what would be the most with the investigations, which one stands out in your mind the most?
Oh, well, I've been so fortunate to be able to go to other countries. I've been
Yeah.
to Spain, I've been to France, I've been to England. I'd have to say England is one of my favorite places to visit. Um, I was very lucky. My family had lived there, so we were able to go travel and visit them, and so I was able to go investigate while I was there. And Tower of London, I went through, and different Jack the Ripper. I walked the streets where Jack the Ripper
I would
was.
love to see that, like
Uh,
Whitechapel. Yeah.
Oh, it was so, believe it or not, it's so scary now because it's all Muslim communities and they don't want anybody like us coming in their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was getting dark when we were doing the tour. It was only me, my son, one other man and his son, and the tour guide, which was a little old man with a big tall hat on. And that was it. We had very small, and we were walking in these neighborhoods that we really shouldn't have been in. Uh, but you could feel the vibe, and oh yeah, it was amazing to go there. But I'd have to say, and also I've been to the catacombs in Paris, and that
Yeah.
was amazing. I could have stayed down there from it opens at 8. I think it closes at 5. I could have stayed there all day, uh, and just stayed down there. That was incredible. So those are
I've heard the catacombs are absolutely amazing.
they
So
are.
that would be, yeah. Yeah.
Because it's really the people don't realize it's designed to be like artwork. When they interred all these bones and skeletons and all, they actually designed it to become a tourist attraction, even in the 1800s. And they didn't just pile these bones; they did artwork and they made all kinds of different settings with all these different bones. So it really is incredible to see.
We have a collection of EVPs from you. And I was listening to some of them just before the show started. I started listening to them last night and I was like, we need some backstories on this.
Sure.
If you're okay with sharing that, because
Oh
these
yeah, no, the stories
these
that's the most important part of the EVP.
so okay, the first one I'm gonna play, it's called Plantation Richard.
Yes. I'll give you some backstory on that. A
Yeah.
good friend of mine, one of my older clients, was buying this older plantation. And before she moved in with her family, she asked me, she knew I was an investigator for many years. And she asked me if I would go to the house and the property and do a walkthrough and see to make sure that there was, nothing bad there and things like that, which I don't really, support a lot of the things negative and stuff. So
Yeah.
I did. I went and I did an investigation. And so I got started over there one night, and then I asked one of my really good friends, who's a sensitive, to come, and she was coming about two hours later. So I basically was in the house by myself and set up all my equipment and just sat in the lobby in the hallway and just stayed quiet. And this was captured. I was right there next to the recorder and never heard this. And this is somebody calling somebody.
Okay, just give me now let me know if you can't hear it, okay? For some reason, like I'm gonna hopefully this works fine, but we'll see. So you could hear that, right?
I can hear it. You may want to bump it up a little bit if you can for the audience to hear.
Okay.
Uh, I
Okay.
can hear it. I know what it's saying, but it's not good.
What what is it saying? So what is it saying? Tell me this.
Well, it's a voice, and it actually sounds like he's scared of me because, of course, I am the intruder. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm the stranger in this house, and he was calling down the hallway, Richard, Richard. Richard. And so I didn't know, and I was amazed that I got Richard. It was so clear. And like I said, I didn't hear it with my ears. But so when I played it for the homeowner, she said, "Oh my God!" She goes, "The man that we bought the house from, his name is Ricky, and all his ancestors, they've lived there for 5 or 6 generations since 1718. They were Richards. So there you go, Richard. You know,
Makes a lot of sense. I'm going to play it one more time just so that we can see if we can hear it here. Like hear the name, you know?
yeah."
Okay, I could definitely hear it. Like,
Yeah. It even
yeah.
has its own echo, which is pretty wild because, you know, I'm sitting right there on a little sofa, and the house is empty. There's no furniture in the house at this point because they haven't moved in yet, and it has its own echo. And for the recorder to catch that, it's wild. I mean, that's what I love about EVPs is how amazing they capture certain things.
We've had a few, you know, that have been very clear, you know, over the years and stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's not difficult, I guess, to catch them. But when you can get something like this that is clear and there's the story behind it and there's the validation behind it, it's just such a good feeling. Like you just kind of go, look at, like, this is worth what we're doing. You know?
Oh, yeah. And I think
All
it's
of
the
these.
locations too. I'm very careful on where I get involved with investigating. I love history, so I'm always looking for places that are really historical. Um, that's a big thing to me. So
Um,
um, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. I'm going to put on another one here. This one is Courthouse.
Yes. So this is Appomattox Courthouse, which this was tied into the surrendering of the Civil War, and Grant and Lee actually met at this home. It was called the McLean House, and it was not planned, but this is where they wound up in Virginia um, at this house, and this is where they signed the peace treaty to end the Civil War, and they did it in the living room downstairs. And I went and visited, and so I went upstairs. It was just a regular house, and I went upstairs to where the bedrooms were, and there was a tour guide downstairs just talking quietly, just 1 or 2 people, and I was up there by myself, and you know, I jumped in with my recorder and asked my little questions,
Yeah.
and captured this.
Okay. This is exciting.
Hmm.
Anybody here with me?
I'm going to play that again.
Anybody here with me?
Okay. That's a very clear response to you asking.
Yeah. And you can hear me. I asked the question and then I took a picture. And just that you can hear my camera snapping,
Yeah.
and then the voice pops in. Now, I'm not saying it's Grant. I'm not saying it's Lee. It could be the homeowner. It could have been Mr. McLean. It could have been anybody.
Right.
But what he's saying is, I'm going to stab you. I'm going to stab you.
Whoa.
I'm
That's
glad I didn't hear that.
That's a response. Hey, I'm just going to play it one more time here. Okay, hang on.
Anybody here with me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, and now, when you listen to your EVPs, do you listen to them real time, or do you take them home and go through the evidence that way? Or do you rewind them and listen for real time, responses?
What I do is from the time I get there, pretty much when I get out of my car till the time I leave, I put my recorders on. And then depending on if I don't have a lot of people in a home, I'll set up 2 or 3 different recorders in different locations, because if I do capture something, I want to hear it in different angles. And so, because I've had recorders where one recorder is right next to the other, and one would capture an amazing thing, the other caught nothing, side by side. So,
Yeah.
so no, I do all my review afterwards. I go in, I gather all the evidence on recorders and equipment, and then I do my reviews, which takes, sometimes 1 or 2 weeks, depending on my work schedule and things like that. And I'll only review, like, a lot of people, I think the reason why a lot of people don't find EVPs is because they don't know how to review properly. And
Right.
you
Yeah.
really have to, like, I use Audacity. It's very simple. It's free.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a lot of fancy features. It just has, you can clean things up and bump up volumes and clip things. And it's very simple. So anybody ever needs any kind of software device, just use Audacity, download it. And
It's a good software to use for sure. I mean, I know that there's a lot of the fancier, audios that you can use
it
and
has
stuff.
a lot of features. And like I said, it's free. You don't have to. And I've bought some of the other ones, and they were so complicated. And then you would make a clip and or destroy the clip, and so that's why I stuck with that all these years. And I will only listen through. I like earbuds. Everybody wears different things. I don't like to have anything canceled out. Some people wear canceling headsets, and that you could cancel out the EVP. So I just like inexpensive earbuds right into my ears.
Yeah.
And that way, if I need to bump up the volume, I can, and then I can. That's how I find a lot of the EVPs is the quiet ones is to bump them up and then make them a little louder. You don't want to make it too loud where it's too hissy, but at the same time, it's. And I find so many people don't spend the time reviewing and properly. So that's half the battle. I mean, why go out and do this if you're not going to review properly? So.
Mm-hmm. Or a lot of times it doesn't get reviewed right away. It just gets it just sits there, and then when you do go to review it, you're like, I don't know what's going on.
Well, I had some stuff that I reviewed and and didn't hear anything, and then 2 years later I went back and I actually found some amazing. I was like, what the heck? How did I miss this? It's almost like it wasn't on there, and then when you go back, like, where did this come from? So yeah,
that's pretty cool.
But I love it.
It's gonna be different, just a different mind frame too. Like, you sometimes we're in this place where we just don't, if we're not in the mood to be watching or listening or whatever. Sometimes I remember, after sometimes an investigation, it was hours and hours, and you're just like, I just don't have the time. You almost want to like hire somebody just to do that evidence review.
That's right. That's the people don't realize. The people that watch all these shows, they don't realize you can spend 20. You have one recorder and you did 5 hours. Yeah. Well, and then you had 4 recorders, so there's 20 hours right there.
There's 20 hours, and you're listening for everything. But you're also, you're the other thing that you're doing is you're deciphering between, okay, was that somebody's stomach rumbling? Was that a fart? Was that a window open? Was that a door squeaking? Was that somebody moving in their, like, what was that? Right. And, if people, especially, for new investigators, they're not always tagging themselves and they're like, and then 5 minutes later, oh yeah, I made this noise like 5 minutes ago. And you're just like,
well, and that's over the years, I got away from all that. And really, I will only investigate pretty much solo or maybe with one other person. And they have to be a really seasoned, passionate person like me. I'm done with giving all these, the newbies all the chances. They can go out and start their own thing. That's great. But they can't go on my investigation because I've wasted so many years listening to people making noises. You have to tag everything. When you tag everything and you're in that habit, and then you see that something wasn't tagged, hey, that wasn't me. And so, but I love to just keep it down to 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
That's it. 3 is really tough. I don't even like to have 3 people with me because somebody's going to make a noise or do this or do that, and then you have to sit there and try and figure it out. And you can waste 40 minutes just doing that.
So, absolutely.
I stopped torturing myself.
One of the things that we found difficult, is because we did do a lot of homes, houses and personal homes and stuff like that. And you always have the homeowners that are like, well, we want to stay, well, here's the thing is, like, of course, this is your home. You're allowed to stay and all of that. But, at the same time, you've got somebody who's like, oh my God, and you're like, oh my, shut up.
No, that's my requirement. When I get cases in the past, I always tell people you have to leave for 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
If you don't, then I can't come. And that's my rule, and that's
Yeah,
how I go, because I don't want to waste my time and go in there.
exactly.
And also, sometimes the spirits will not say things when the homeowner's there,
Yeah.
versus us coming in and just directly talking to them. So that's my requirement. And I always tell people, when we're done, you can come back 30 minutes
Yeah.
before we're done. If you want to sit in for 30 minutes, you can ask whatever questions. But no, you have to be very strict on,
Yeah, and that's what
your investigation.
yeah. Once you get a little bit more seasoned, you start realizing what. So by the time we were into our few thousands of investigations, we were like, this is, we're just not coming here unless this happens. And all of our investigators had background checks. We were, all of it was, everything was upfront and legit, and we had an excellent reputation. So if you're just hanging around, we're not wasting our time, simply because of the fact that they're, and all you need is like a door squeaking because of the wind or whatever nonsense. And then they're like, ah, and you're like, okay, you just literally ruined whatever that was. And that could take another hour. Maybe it's never going to happen, whatever it is, but you pretty much mucked that up. And so,
well, I learned a valuable lesson teaching the public and having public groups, and then taking them to really great locations, places that nobody could ever get in, that I was actually bringing them into. And I had this one lady, she would not stop talking or asking. She'd start asking a question. She'd ask 10 questions in less than a minute. And we would, we'd be downstairs and like, you gotta be quiet up there. And then she'd keep going. You gotta be quiet. And after, I just yelled at the top of my lungs for her to be quiet. I mean, I just lost my mind. I was like, I can't take this anymore. So that's why I did that for 4 years. I trained the public, and I was like, I am so done with this, because I really assumed that people would take it seriously, and they were just interested in the TV shows, and nobody would ever review. I would email people, did you review this, that? And so I finally had enough. And I think the main reason for me doing it, I learned what not to do and get away from these people and never let those kind of people around me again. And I'm glad, because I'm so happy now in what I do.
Yeah. It just makes you a stronger investigator.
Oh, yeah.
However you're supposed to, wherever you're supposed to be in that sense, right? And I mean, you're always dealing with somebody. The hardest thing, I think, was to tell somebody. There was always those people that were extremely grateful, and they were like, oh, thank you. I feel so much better now, whatever it was. But you've always got those people that when you tell them, look, there's nothing going on here, it's not haunted. Right. Literally, you might have mice, or you've got plumbing or electrical, or, whatever it is, your teenagers like out of control. I don't know, whatever. But they don't want to hear that. They wanted to hear. They wanted to hear that they were
teenagers, So well, you have to be. That's real kitten gloves there. You have to be careful. You don't want to insult them. But me personally, I'll do a lot of research on the person. I won't just go in. Someone says their house is haunted. That doesn't mean anything to me. I have to research them. I have to find out the history of the home, and I also have to investigate the homeowner first, because there's a lot of crazy people out there in this world. And and you deal with mental illness, alcoholism, drugs, people watching these TV shows. We ran into that a lot, where people were big fans of the show. So I would have a big questionnaire before I'd even come in. I'd say, do you watch these shows? Yeah. Oh, no, we don't watch any of those shows. And then I would get there and I'd ask them the same question. They'd say, oh yeah, we love all the shows. We watch them all. I said, okay, pack it up, let's go. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, bye. I said, not, because what I found out was there were people actually filming us. They hid cameras, they hid recorders, and they were recording us as we were investigating, so they could make their own little show. And they were trying to sell it to other different shows and different productions. And I was like, so that's when I said, okay, I think it's time to get away from the residential and just do what I want. And I saw that firsthand. I was catching people. I had to go and investigate the homeowners as I was there trying to investigate the ghosts. And I was like, nah, not worth it. People said, well, get insurance, get forms. I was like, nope, I'm offering my time for free. coming in to do this with all my thousands of dollars of equipment. And I said, and then they pulled this crap. So I have no interest in really doing anything for the general public anymore. I'd rather do the historical locations and places that are really interesting to me.
When I got into it, I got into it, simply like to help people. And that was the thing. But throughout, as you're doing that, you kind of, it's not that goal has changed by any means, right? It's just a matter of, look at, I am here to help you with my time and my energy and my equipment and all of that. So what we're asking is, for cooperation as we move forward. And if we're not getting honesty and cooperation, then we have to place our effort and our time somewhere else, right? And most people were pretty good, but we did the same thing. We had a massive, questionnaire before we even went to the house. And we went into medications, we went into everything. Now, we're obviously not doctors or anything like that, but there are definitely medications that can mess up your, where you can hallucinate, or maybe you feel very faint, or maybe, it can cause drops in blood pressure, it can cause spikes in blood pressure. And so a lot of times, that in itself can be misconstrued as something as a paranormal event, right? And so you just it was just, every case is different. But again, it's just a matter of, look at, I'm here to help you, so you have to cooperate with me. And we put a lot of effort into getting the background checks. And those aren't cheap, right? Like when you're renewing them once a year, those aren't, they're not free,
right?
And and all of the other stuff that comes with it. And so when somebody is kind of treating it like as if it's like a I don't know, a knitting hobby, or it's like, well, every hobby is great, but this is costing a lot of time and a lot of energy and taking us away from our families, to be here for you. And if I wanted that type of hobby, I could just sit at home and I could knit, but I'm doing something for you. I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for you, right? And
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've helped and I have helped the last two biggest cases that I did recently in the last 2 years was 2 different suicides. And these people weren't looking for my help. And one was a close friend that her husband had passed away. And the other was another person that I met through going to a lumber yard. And I was going to get materials to build a deck. And I was talking to the girl that I've seen there many times, over the years. And got talking to her, and she just told me about her husband, killing himself. And so I went and helped both these people, and I actually did connect with the spirits. I got recordings of them, so it was amazing. And talk about draining, and it drained me. And but I was able to get some answers for them. The one, I got about 7 EVPs.
Wow!
Walked around the house, and he talked to us, and he told us different things. The other one, I asked the first thing to make sure that it was a spirit that was connected to the person. I asked what the wife's name was, and he told me, what her name was. And so I have that on recording. So I know it's him. I went to the location where he killed himself. And so so these are things that, most investigators don't get involved with. This is not thrill seeking. This is actually really helping people. It's there's so many different there's different degrees of investigators. There's thrill seekers that have groups and they love to go to different haunted places and they pay a lot of money to go to these places, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. And like you said, it's a hobby. There's nothing wrong with that. It's it's great. Then there's really interesting hardcore people that want answers to the universe, and we're looking for our own journey in life, and we want to see how we connect to the spirits that are all around us. And there's scientific backgrounds and different things like that. So and then you just have the fan base that just watches every show, and
Yeah.
whatever's on the show, they believe it, and it's all about demons, demons, demons. And
Oh,
so
it's always the demons, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. A guy named Zach. I won't say his last name, but yeah, he's
Yeah.
all about demons.
There's a few
Whatever
of them
floats
that
your
did
boat, that's
that.
how I look at it,
Yeah.
But as a serious investigator, that I can count on two hands the serious investigators I know in my area,
Yeah.
which I love to work with, and they are as hardcore as me. Um, and then there's all different types. But so I don't bash anybody. You do it for your own reasons, what you're looking for. So me,
Yeah.
I love to help people, but I've learned I can't help the general public anymore because I don't know them. And you can do all the research and ask all the questionnaires you want. Then people still lie to you.
Yeah.
So I stepped away from that, and I'm glad I
It
did.
can
I'm very
definitely wear. It wears on your energy. It can definitely, 100%. It can definitely wear on your energy, for sure. I'm going to play another EVP here. Just give me a second, because somehow I'm looking for them. Just give me a second, because somehow I might have mucked this up and somehow lost them. So I'm not sure. Hang on a minute. Just give me 1 second here. Sorry about this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next one we have coming through, or the next one. So it's called Dry Run Gym Light.
Okay. So actually, my next episode after this Tom Dooley one is coming out. I have a small haunted farm in eastern Tennessee.
Okay.
Those six had all kinds of things over the years happen. I have all kinds of recordings. But 5 minutes away from there was this old school. It was just a brick building, 5 classrooms out in the middle of the country. And several years back, I was going up to my home and I saw a big sign saying winery. I'm going, we never had a winery over here. So I drove over there and I was like, wow, they took the old school, and these folks, husband and wife, that were retired, bought the place and they made it into a winery.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's an event place. They had music. They took all the classrooms and made them into different dining rooms and a gourmet kitchen. And so I went in to just see what it was. And I met the owner. She was there. There was nobody else there at the time. And we got to talking, and I tried some of her wines. They were excellent. And I just said, God, this place is so quiet, She goes,
Yeah.
do you mean ghosts? I'm like, no, I wasn't really saying about ghosts. I said, why? Do you have ghosts? And she goes, well, just 2 weeks ago, we had something happen here that's really crazy. And so she started telling me. And that's when I told her what I do. And she's like, oh my God, do you want to come in here and investigate? I said, oh, absolutely. So that was probably 7 or 8 years ago. And I've been the only one allowed to go in there and investigate all these years. And we've captured all kinds of things. I brought 2 or 3 other great investigators with me over the time. And that will be my next episode after Tom Dooley. And so it's just, and it's a complete cinder block brick building. There is no creaking. There's no creaking floor. Everything is concrete. So it is solid. And there's an old gym. It's still left as a school, and there's an old gym. And this is what we captured in the gym.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, so that's the EVP itself. Is that right?
Yeah, I must have been moving a chair or something, so that's what you hear. But the spirit is right next to me, and he's saying, I can't make out. It's very clear, but at the same time, I can't make out. But he's saying something about the lights. Like, do you need lights? But you hear the word lights, like turn on the lights.
Yeah.
So if you play it again, maybe your listeners can figure it out as well. But it's very loud.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to play it one more time. Hang on. Yeah, I can't tell exactly what he's saying, but that is just so clear. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's going to be a great episode. I have a lot of EVPs from there and some photos. Photos are, you have to be very lucky if you capture something.
Oh, for sure.
But audio is always a great thing to capture. And like I said, but I have many recordings from there over the last few years. And like I said, and it was so nice that it's only 5 minutes away from my place in the mountains. So I
Yeah.
love going there. Unfortunately, the folks sold it to newer folks that revamped it and this and that, and they just really wanted to rip off they contacted me and said, well, can we use your evidence because we're making haunted wine, and they're going to put labels on it and advertise. And I was like, no, I'm not interested. And so I wouldn't let them either because they just wanted to capitalize on
Oh,
all my
for
work.
sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, and so even when I put the show out, I'm not going to mention about the winery because I don't want it being commercialized in that sense.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to just focus on the old school and the children that are there. And what's really nice is there was a woman, a 95-year-old woman that was, I think she passed now, but when I was investigating, she had worked there from the time the school opened until it closed. So it opened in 1942 and it closed in 1986. And she had worked there all those years. And when I first met her, she said, "You don't believe in ghosts, do you?" I'm like, I absolutely do. And I said, let me tell you some of the things that I do. And so I sat down with her and we played the stuff for her. And she was like, oh my God. She was blown up. At 95 years old, she had never had an experience. And she heard all
Wow.
these things. And she was like, and so I was able to use her when I got certain names, if she could remember certain kids that maybe went to school. Because nobody died at the school. And we don't know why all these ghosts are there, but they're
Yeah.
there. And so that was nice to have that connection with her.
A lot of times too is I really do feel that sometimes they just go back to a place, that might have been a comfort for them, or maybe good memories or whatever. All these TV shows are like, oh, you're stuck here or you're stuck there. I really don't believe that. I really feel that they have that ability to to revisit many locations or wherever you want to go. I remember, because I do a lot of I myself am a medium, and I've spoken with those that have passed over that are saying, look at, what, tell my loved one, it's not that I don't want to be around them or anything like that, but I've got my own stuff to do. Like I'm around with you, but I want to travel. I want to go here and I want to do this and I want to, I want to do my stuff. I'm still there and I'm protecting and I can be there instantly if you need me, but
right.
I've got my own shit to do.
It's so true. It's so true. And there are some spirits that are tied to locations because a lot of them, like even when I've gone to Gettysburg, there's a lot of spirits that still don't even know that they're dead. And we have recordings of ghosts asking, am I dead? So that's amazing. But yes, it is so true that spirits can travel anywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
My brother had passed away in New Hampshire in 2000. And when I bought this place in 2006 in Tennessee, which is very far away from New Hampshire, he showed up. I have a photo of him showing up in the window as we were outside, and I took a picture of the house, and there he is looking out the window. And it was 6 years later after he had passed away. So spirits can travel anywhere.
Oh yeah. And the thing is that timelines, run so differently. So even if we do hear, some of these spirits that are, people will say, oh, we've got to, we have to cleanse it. We have to release them. We have to let them go. I'm like, or why don't you, we don't know what timeline they're on. And so why don't you just leave it? Because our timeline is going to be different than their timeline. Our 100 years might be just a few seconds for them, or maybe perhaps a couple of minutes, depending on their timeline. And when you start mucking with, the cleansings and the clearings and this crap and that crap, and these people that are like, I'm passing them over. I have no tolerance for that,
I don't either. I don't believe in that. And everybody
I
thinks
don't either. I don't believe in passing people on. I don't believe in any of that. For me, it's very, you listen to the spirit, right? And I've never in all the years I've been doing this, run across a spirit that's trapped.
right.
They're
Exactly.
very open and very communicative when they want to be. And,
Right.
occasionally you run across one that might be a little, troubled or confused or
Or
whatever.
they don't realize they're dead. They're still. I do also believe there's many. There's not one answer in the paranormal.
Exactly. That's exactly. We don't know what the direct answer
and
is,
that's
right?
what makes it so interesting to study and be involved with all these years. And if you're not doing the work and not having those experiences, then you're missing out on. If you're just running around and getting EVPs and you're not actually researching to have these different experiences, then you're wasting a lot of your time. And maybe you should go do something else. But like I said, my favorite thing is hotels. I love to travel to historical hotels, and I've captured so many things at different hotels. And like you said, it's where people enjoyed themselves the most, and they just loved it that they want to continue to keep going there. And I do believe that they could be in their realm, and we can still be in ours. That they are living in their time. They're not in our time. And every once in a while, when our vibrations get just about right, and we kind of balance out, sometimes we peek in, and sometimes they peek in, and that's when you get the people going, "Oh my God, we're the ghosts," and vice versa. We see them, and they're the ghosts. So I do believe in different realms, and I do believe that there's a lot of people in their own times. Because many times I'll say to spirit, "What year is it?" And they'll say, "Oh, it's 1860, or 17." And I love it because they're not making these numbers up. This is where they're coming from, and so that's always a good question to ask. There's so many facets to this part of life.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I want to put this one here too. We've got Gettysburg, and it says, "Please to me." Tell us the story about that one.
Well, Gettysburg is an amazing place, and anybody that ever gets the opportunity to go there, either history-wise or paranormal-wise, and to me, it goes hand in hand. There's a place called the Rose Farm, which was a farm right in the middle of the main traffic of where the charges were going through, from Pickett's Charge over to Little Round Top, and the farm was right in the middle, so all these people passed over it. And it's out in the middle of the field. The home is still there. The property is still there. Most people don't even realize when they go to Gettysburg that it's sitting out in this area. So we went and we were investigating there, and it actually was on Halloween night.
Right.
Danny, who's a very good researcher, and we were there as it was getting dark, and we just did our thing. And we got our recorders out, and we were asking all questions, and that's when we captured it. It sounds like a little girl, and you can go ahead and play it, and then I'll tell you what she's saying if you can't make it out.
Okay, here we go. Wow. Okay. Yeah. What is she saying? You can hear the walking, obviously, but you can hear that she's very clear.
Yeah, she's right next to us, and she's saying, "We're pleased to meet you. We're pleased to meet you." And then right after that one, we actually have a man. I guess maybe he was with her, maybe he wasn't with her, but he questioned. He said, "Am I dead?" We have a man saying to us, "Am I dead?" I mean, he was like shocked to find out that he just realized he was a ghost, and that was right after that one. But I don't have that clip to share with you. But pleased to meet you. Yeah.
I want to play that again. Just 1 second here. Wow. That is just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. We're pleased to, I think she's saying we're pleased to meet. Maybe here it's you or not, but we're pleased to meet. And
pleased to meet.
Yeah.
Wow.
We work real hard, and we use really good recorders. There's a big difference between a $30 recorder and a $300 recorder. I'm a musician. I've been a musician for years, and I used to work in recording studios for demos. And so I learned a long time ago when I was getting good EVPs, go spend the money and get some really good equipment to capture things so that when you get something, you can really, get some good EVPs.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. We've I know some investigators too, what they'll do is they will play the EVPs back real time. So, they will do a session and then play it back just to see if there's been any responses, in
Sure.
that immediate
Yeah.
time or whatever. And it always makes me wonder, like, it would be kind of neat if you could. I remember this one investigation we went on, and we were using an Ovilus. And the thing is that I'm not a big fan of some of these gadgets. I really just don't have any like. There's no respect for them. I just don't care, But
Yeah.
we did this one, and it was really interesting because we were at an airport, one of our international airport here, and we were underground and like underneath the airport. And at the time, the coolers that were being used for some of the restaurants and stuff used to be part of a morgue. They used to have a morgue below the airport. And so we were doing an EVP session, and we were using this gadget, and it was more like we didn't really expect anything, I guess is the best way to say it, but we were also using thermometers and different other equipment.
Right.
And it was really interesting because the thing is that the questions that we were asking, we were getting, true responses back. And I was in shock. Like,
Yeah.
How, like, for instance, what did you do, for a living? I asked, and it came back military. How did you die? Disease. You know what I mean? And it was amazing. And at the end, I said, "Well, thank you. Thank you for talking to us." And the response came back, hugs. Well, I just burst out into tears. I was like, I don't know what I was just like, wow. But
it's like you said about the obelisk. You have to realize that Bill Chappell, that designed all these pieces of equipment, especially the obelisks and the paranormal pucks, we experimented with all of them. You have to remember that he put in over 1,048 vocabulary words that he handpicked every word that went into that. And so I always tell people, I said, if you died tomorrow and you were a ghost, would you know how to manipulate that obelisk or that puck? And how would you be able to see the words and this and that? So that's one side of the coin. And then, of course, then you do have these experiences where things are coincidental or maybe even spot on. So, the first time I ever saw the first paranormal puck that came out, a very good investigator, Keith Age, who's a more senior guy now, he was helping his friend sell these different devices at different Paracons and things like that. And we were at a haunted hotel, and I didn't believe in much of it, but back then, this device would plug into your laptop. And so you'd have a screen, and you'd have all the words that were being spit out, and everything would be in front of you, and you could type in questions. Instead of asking, you would just type in the question. And so we were, it was our turn to go into the room where he was. And so we were just trying it. And my wife had typed out something, and she had said that my brother had passed away and he had drowned fishing. And so she just typed in, "Where's Jimmy? Where's Jimmy?" And all of a sudden over the thing, it says, "In the waves." And I was like, oh man. And then the next thing it said, "Casting," because he was fishing, casting. So we were like, what the hell was that?
Well, and that's
so it's hard to say. And this was a very primitive version that first came out years ago, and I still have it to this day. But so So that led me to say, I want to experiment with it. And so I bought one, of course, $150 back then. And we did use it a lot. And we never really got a lot of really amazing things after that.
Right.
So I tried one day, I had one of these little motors that you build with the magnets and the batteries to make a little EMF pump. And I just put it right next to the device. And all of a sudden, it started spitting out every word it possibly could. Within a minute, it was 1,000 words. And so it just showed that it was a EMF detector with a vocabulary. So yeah, if energy does come and it could throw out a word or possibly, like I said, I don't know how it goes to figure out what the vocabulary would be. But then again, we don't know. We don't know these.
Well, it's the same thing. If you, I mean, when we're listening to the static, and they're basically using the radio waves to create an EVP. It's not different than that. It's I don't like listening to the static. I actually refuse to do that. I think that white noise annoyance.
When I run recorders, it's totally quiet, no static. And I do believe in static because, like I said, the first recording I ever got in 1978 was using pure static, but it was quiet and it was no microphone plugged into this reel-to-reel. And I got this person yelling and screaming, and this wasn't vocabulary words. This was somebody actually screaming. So yeah, static is an amazing thing. It is good to use, white noise and things, but I don't like the shack hacks. I'm not into them. They just annoy me, and I like to stay really quiet. And if that's what you like, that's great. Use it. I don't want to sit there and try and figure out bits and pieces of things. I want straight answers from the spirit, and that's why I use good recorders. And you see the difference in what I get versus what other people get. So,
speaking of, I want to play this last one before we go here, and this is Hoover House. So, do you have a little bit of a backstory for that one?
My good friends up in Pennsylvania own this beautiful 1912 Hoover House Inn. And they purchased it. In a way, they had no idea why they were buying it. They're paranormal. All of them are paranormalists. And they got kind of led to this home. And we think the spirits led them there. It is a paranormal portal. This home has so many spirits. And I didn't believe it until I went and captured all these things. And so they're just outside. They're about 30 minutes outside of Gettysburg, and it's a beautiful, beautiful home that you can go stay at and investigate. Or you could sit there 24 hours a day and investigate if you like. It's just a wonderful place that anybody that's interested should go.
Great. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna play this one.
I'm not sure that. I'm not sure that.
So yeah, you can definitely hear that noise that in the background there, just talking over you.
Well, this is our first time visiting there. Go ahead, play it again.
I'm not sure that.
Yeah.
So there's actually, we think it's a lady. She's singing quietly right next to us.
That's what I hear too. Is it's almost like a humming, like she's humming.
She's humming and she's singing to us. This fellow Bob, who's part of the owners, and he was visiting. He was taking us around and showing us the different rooms, and he was just telling us about the different rooms. And as we went into this one, my one friend, who's an investigator, he gets creeped out really easy. Like if there's an energy in there, he'll feel it on his body. And so he walked in, and all of a sudden he felt like a real cold spot right next to him. And just as he did that, he was. We captured this recording, and this woman is humming and singing to us as the guy Bob is talking about the home and the activity there.
Yeah, it's and so wild. Saying,
I'm being used. I'm being used. I'm being used. So I mean, that's a good thing that she's being used for, but it was just very interesting that so strange, It was a great capture. And like I said, sometimes you get it while you're talking, which of course you don't want, but sometimes they like to chime in.
I think that's an amazing EVP. They all are, actually. They really all. I just want to thank you so much, Michael, for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
It was such a pleasure to meet you, and we hope to bring you back on again sometime soon. It'd be nice when the whole group gets to meet you.
Yes, that would be a lot of fun. But it's nice to do this. This is more intimate too.
It
Just
is
one-on-one.
too.
It's really, sometimes it gets hard when there's 2 and 3 people asking questions. So
Exactly.
it's always a great way
It's
to
a
start.
little overwhelming at times, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you for
Thank you,
being
everybody.
here. Make sure that you are subscribed, and thank you again so much for joining us this week. We're going to be here next week. I believe it's going to be just Trevor and I next week, but we'll, hopefully see you then. Right? Bye, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.